Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. At least in Eastern Canada, as the class starts at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and both on Saturdays and Sundays. We have Srimad Bhagavatam class on Sunday, and then every Wednesday we have Chaitanya Charitamrita reading and discussion. And these classes are meant to educate people on Krishna consciousness and the bona fide process. Because whenever the founder of any organization leaves this world, then many changes take place in the organization of that group, whether it's Christianity, Hinduism, any religion that has a group. For example, in the Christian religion, the people claim to be following Jesus Christ. And on every street corner, there's a different church with a different preacher and a different leader. Now, this has happened also very rapidly in the ISKCON movement, where there are so many people with different opinions, both involved with the movement and, in a sense, those who are outside of that movement and are still carrying on with the practice of Krishna consciousness. So opinion is going on without any check. And like Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu sometimes says to me, the internet is like a shop where anybody can set up shop and pontificate what they believe as truth and try to get some followers. And there are unlimited people, because of the vastness of the internet, who all have opinion. But the question is, what is bona fide and what is bogus? And, here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, because we strictly adhere to the unedited books of Srila Prabhupada, and we follow in his footsteps in terms of presenting the philosophy as we hear it from him in our daily sadhana programs, which are to hear the lectures of Srila Prabhupada, which are also to hear the chanting of the holy name by his japa classes, and also to constantly read his books. We get an understanding of how to repeat what he is teaching us without change or edit. This is something that has gone on. And the changing of the truth by motivated people is the greatest disservice that you can commit to the Sankirtan movement of bhaktis of Lord Chaitanya. Think about it like this, and Dharma Bhavana made a interesting inquiry at the last class. Does everything that Prabhupada say, is it Shastra? Is it scripture? That's like asking Prabhupada, does everything your guru Bhaktisiddhanta say scriptural? Is it Shastra? The answer is yes, it is. And when you study closely the lectures and teachings of Srila Prabhupada in his various mediums, his letters, his classes, his morning walks, like we have that set of 30, I believe it's 37 volumes of Prabhupada's conversations. Even when you just look at the conversations, everything is scripture. It's not concoction. And so like that, we are very fortunate to be in the association of the bona fide spiritual master, and in this group, bona fide disciples. Because a bona fide disciple does not concoct. He simply repeats what he hears from his spiritual master without interpretation. This mental speculation that goes on amongst people who are involved in spiritual life is a disease. And one should avoid the association of people that are personally motivated to operate in a spiritual environment based on business. You want to do a business, don't do it here. The guru business is not the business of the bona fide disciple. So we're going to go back to Srila Prabhupada's early days. We're reading the beginning. This is the original journal. Of course, this is a copy of it, but fortunately it was preserved. All these archives are wonderful for us to study and learn how Prabhupada conducted himself, how he single-handedly started the Krishna Consciousness movement in the Western world without any help from the Gaudiya Math. Remember that. People that go to the Gaudiya Math because they get disappointed by the people in ISKCON and end up in that quarter, they're also in a different state of mind, a different focus. So we'll read here this letter. Now, this letter that Prabhupada receives from the JK organization, Kamala Tower, Kanpur, was a request for them to help him in setting up a temple because he was ambitious to push the movement forward, especially when he had nothing. So this gives us some insight into the reaction that people in India had towards him. January 27th, 1966, from the JK organization, Kamala Tower, Kanpur. My dear Swamiji, I received your letter of the 20th installment. I'm afraid that I cannot agree with your suggestion that you should buy a small house and then erect something on the top of it. Unfortunately, such a kind of proposal will not suit me. The temple may be small one, but it should be constructed properly. I quite agree that you cannot spend a lot of money at present, but within the limit of the amount of the government may sanction, we should do something according to the architecture of Indian temples. Then only we will be able to create some impression on the American public. This is all that I can write to you in this connection. I'm very grateful for you for taking the trouble of writing to me yours sincerely. So here he's giving advice to Prabhupada how to conduct himself. And you know, as Prabhupada refers to it, Camp 100, or it's referred to as camp. We used to refer to our temples like that, camp, Hamilton Camp. Friday, January 28th, 1966. And look at the picture here. Let's see if we can get to it. Yeah, look at this picture. This is Prabhupada transported out of Vrindavan. Here it says, Srila Prabhupada did grocery shopping at the West End Superette. This is mentioned on page 220 in chapter 6. So quite a cultural change for him. Coming from Vrindavan, coming from Radha Damodar temple, climate quite different. He'd never experienced anything like this. And all of a sudden he's transported into New York City and conducting himself in this environment, this climate, with very little facility, just a complete belief and surrender in his spiritual master. On Friday, January 28th, in New York, he purchased vegetables 42 cents. And the bus fare was 30 cents. The total expenditure was 72 cents. counting every penny. And Saturday, the 29th of January, 1966, Mr. Hill will call me at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Gita meeting at studio at 4 p.m. Mr. Hill informed that Sachin Muzumdar can be contacted on phone and thus meet him. Prabhupada says, Mr. Cohen came at 4 p.m. with friends and heard me for 1.5 hours up to 5:30 p.m. He has taken away one set of books on approval. 2 sets of books received back from Paragon Book Gallery, making altogether 9 new sets taken back from them. Expenditure: bananas 26 cents and bus fare 30 cents, 56 cents. To Sri Advaita Prabhu's appearance observed by fasting, like a Ekadasi, on January 30th, 1966. Too much snow falling today and the wind blowing severely, so I could not go to Dr. Mishra's apartment for meals. Somehow or other, I managed my bath and meals in the studio. And I purchased milk and butter for 51 cents. Things have changed. And do we have, yes, one more page. Look at Prabhupada there, how beautiful this picture is, eh? By himself, and it's wonderful that we've got this captured and able to present to everyone to show the authenticity of his effort. Monday, January 31st, New York. Today I met 2 foundations, the Carnegie Corporation of New York and Russell Sage Foundation, to contact again tomorrow by phone. He's constantly moving forward, preaching and presenting Krishna consciousness single-handedly in the Western world, and he spent that day on bus fare 30 cents. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission that he began in the West in 1966. Let's move forward with the Bhajan Jayarada Madhava Kunja Bihari, and then the class by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, snowed in at Twain Harte, California. All glories to the Sankirtan movement.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Banachari, Jamuna Tira Banachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa. Yamunatira Banachari. Yamunatira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Amaspat Paramahansa Parivrajagācārya Sattvaresvara Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki Jai. Ramacārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktamani ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Girivardhan ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Ganga Mai की जाए, जमुना माई की जाए, गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए. All glories to their Supreme. All glories to their Supreme. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As we do every week, we try to follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps, and we will recite the verses introduced by Srila Prabhupada in the introduction to his Bhagavad-gītā on page 1, the Sanskrit and the English. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagunara Gunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastuti. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Interesting statement by Srila Prabhupada in a lecture in New York, a lecture on Bhagavad-gītā in 1966. On the 19th of February 1966, Prabhupada is explaining about the Bhagavad-gītā. Simply one has to practice the system. That system is hinted in the Bhagavad-gītā very nicely, and one can adopt it and make his life perfect and make a permanent solution of life. That is the sum and substance of the whole Bhagavad-gītā. Therefore, the conclusion is that Bhagavad-gītā is a transcendental literature which one should read very carefully. Gitam Shastram Idam Punyam Yappatet Prayataha Puman. And the result will be, if he properly follows the instruction, then he can be freed from all miseries of life, all anxieties of life. Vayashokadi Varjitaha. Gita Mahatmya 1. All fears of life in this life, as well as he'll get a spiritual life in the next life. We will read a verse from this Gita Mahatmya. This is from the Padma Purana, glorification of the Bhagavad-gītā. Gitam Shastram Idam Punyam Yapatet Prayata Puman Vishnopadam Avapnoti Bhayashokadi Varjitaha. One who, with a regulated mind, recites with devotion this Bhagavad-gītā scripture, which is the bestower of all virtue, will attain to a holy abode such as Vaikuntha, the residence of Lord Vishnu, which is always free from the mundane qualities based on fear and lamentation. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Bhagavad-gītā. We are reading from the original non-edited, non-adulterated 1972 Macmillan edition. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we'll be reading from chapter 10, text 21, 22, 23. Adityanam maham Vishnur, Adityanam maham Vishnur, Jyotisham Raviram Shuman, Jyotisham Raviram Shuman, Marichir Marutam Asmi, Marichir Marutam Asmi, Nakshadranam Maham Shashi, Nakshadranam Maham Shashi, Adityanam of the Adityas, Aham I am, Vishnu the Supreme Lord, Jyotisham of all luminaries, Ravihi the sun, Amshuman radiant, Marichihi Marichi, Marutam of the Marutas, Asmi I am, Nakshatranam of stars, Aham I am, Shashi the moon. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Of the Adityas I am Vishnu, of lights I am the radiant sun, I am Marichi of the Maruts, and among the stars I am the moon. There are 12 Adityas, purport. There are 12 Adityas of which Krishna is the principal. And among all the luminaries twinkling in the sky, the sun is the chief. And in the Brahma Samhita, the sun is accepted as the glowing effulgence of the Supreme Lord and is considered to be one of his eyes. Marichi is the controlling deity of the heavenly spaces. Among the stars, the moon is most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. Text 22. Vedanam samavedosmi, Vedanam samavedosmi, Devanam asmi vasavaha, Devanam asmi vasavaha, Indriyanam manaschasmi, Indriyanam manaschasmi, Bhutanam asmi chetana, Bhutanam asmi chetana, Vedanam of all the Vedas, Samaveda, the Samaveda, Asmi, I am, Devanam of all the demigods, Asmi, I am, Vasavaha, heavenly king, Indriyanam of all the senses, Manaha, the mind, Cha also, Asmi, I am, Bhutanam of all living entities, Asmi, I am, Chetana, the living force. Translation. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra. Of the senses, I am the mind, and in living beings, knowledge. Purport. The difference between matter and spirit is that matter has no consciousness like the living entity. Therefore, this consciousness is supreme and eternal. Consciousness cannot be produced by a combination of matter. Text number 23. Rudranam Shankaraschasmi, Rudranam Shankaraschasmi, Vitteshu Yaksharakshasam, Vitteshu Yaksharakshasam, Vasunam Pavakaschasmi, Vasunam Pavakaschasmi, Meru Shikarinam Maham, Meru Shikarinam Maham, Rudranam of all the Rudras, Shankaraha, Lord Shiva, Cha also, Asmi, I am, Vitteshaha, the Lord of the treasury, Rakshayakshasam, of the yakshas and rakshasas, Vasunam, of the vasus, Pavakaha, fire, Cha, also, Asmi, I am, Meruhu, Meru, Shikarinam, of all the mountains, Aham, I am. Translation. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am fire, Agni. And of the mountains, I am Meru, purport. There are 11 Rudras, of whom Shankara, Lord Shiva, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in charge of the modes of ignorance in the universe. Amongst the demigods, Kuvera is the chief treasurer, and he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad-vandanam Kadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah Adadhana Strinam Danter Idam Yache Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shat Karumishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here in this chapter 10 of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna is describing his various opulences as represented by different personalities and special places. We see that here in this chapter, yes, last time we saw that Krishna stated, I am the self, O Gudakesha, seated in the hearts of all creatures, am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Prabhupada explains in the purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is from text 20, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is existing as the Supersoul in all manifested universes. A description of the three Purusha avatars is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests three features as Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu in this material manifestation. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the cause of all causes, lies down in the cosmic ocean as Mahavishnu or Karanodakshaya Vishnu, and therefore Krishna is the beginning of this universe, the maintainer of the universal manifestation and the end of all the energy. Now this is quite significant because we see that Krishna goes into a lot of details about everything that represent him. But Prabhupada is explaining here how to understand the personality of Godhead. Sometimes in discussions with various members of different religious sects, when we ask the question, well, what does God look like? What does he do? Where does he live? A lot of time we get a deer in the headlight looks, or some very vague, ambiguous answers. Oh, God is great. That's nice. That's a good answer. Oh, God is the creator. That's good. How does he create? What is the sequence? What is the process? So we see here in this Bhagavad-gītā and also in Srimad Bhagavatam, very detailed explanations of these various points. Srila Prabhupada compared Vedic literature to the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedas, the Puranas, the Upanishads. It's compared to like a vast encyclopedia. And various other scriptures are like a small pocket dictionary. Now, this is not meant to discriminate or insult anyone or minimize everybody's pious beliefs or pious faith. It's just a point that in the Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavatam has so many descriptions, very detailed description of the position of the living entities, why the living entity is suffering, what happens at the time of death, how this world is created, how to get out of this world and reach a perfect destination, back home, back to Godhead. There's an interesting story in 1972 in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was having a discussion with Dr. O.B.L. Kapoor. Dr. Udbirayalal Kapoor was a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta who had been a professor of Gaudiya Vaishnavas in an Allahabad University in Uttar Pradesh, India. Very scholarly devotee, and he was very friendly and favorable to Srila Prabhupada. So we were in Srila Prabhupada's room, and one devotee, Subal Maharaj, was there. So Prabhupada at one point was explaining this issue of the Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So he's looking at everybody in the room, looking at all of us, says, can anybody explain this? And we're all looking like, okay. Then Subal Maharaj basically volunteered, and he quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 7, text number 4, on page 367, chapter 7, text number 4, where Prabhupada explains in his purport to the verb Bhumirapuanaro Vayuhu Kammano Buddhirevacha Ahamkara iti yamme binna prakriti rashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. And in the purport, Prabhupada quotes from the Sattvata Tantra, Vishnostu trinu rupani purushakyani ato viduhu ekantu mahataha srastrir dvitiyam tvandasamstitam tritiyam sarvabhutastam tani gyatva vimuchyate. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma, who is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. And the reason I'm quoting this is that Subal Maharaj had very nicely explained in considerable detail all these 3 Vishnus, and Prabhupada, as he often would do, was holding his bead bag and smiling very nicely at him and everybody. And when he finished and Prabhupada turned to Dr. Kapoor, he says, just see, these devotees born in foreign countries, how they have learned this philosophy, this Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Just see how nicely they are presenting the message of Lord Chaitanya and message of Bhagavad-gītā. Prabhupada was very pleased with the detailed explanation that Subal Maharaj has given, all based on this specific purport of Srila Prabhupada. Now, it's interesting in these various verses that we are discussing here, this chapter 10, where Srila Prabhupada is giving so many examples. This is especially as a blessing to all the devotees, many persons who are not very fixed up in the process of devotional service, pantheists, impersonalists, and others. And these examples are given to appreciate the greatness of Krishna. He is describing, of all the Adityas, I am Vishnu, of lights, I'm the radiant sun, I'm Marichi of the Maruts, and amongst the stars, I am the moon. We see in the Brahma Samhita, Yat Chakshuresa Savita Sakala Grahanam, Raja Samascha Suramurti Rashesha Tejaha, Yasyajnaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakru, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. How the sun is described as the representative of the personality of Godhead. It's like the eye of Krishna in the world. Now, this is a very important point. Next, we have Vedanam Samavedosmi Devanam Asmi Vasavaha. We have all the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. In 1976 in Hyderabad, when we did the opening of the Radha Madan Mohan Temple, Prabhupada had requested that we bring some local Vaishnava Brahmanas. We brought some followers of Ramanujacharya from the Sri Sampradaya, 12 of them, who conducted the Vedic ceremonies very nicely. And the reason we did this, because we had been warned by one of our life members, a very prominent member of the community, that your temple will not be accepted as a bona fide temple unless you get local Brahmins to perform these ceremonies. They will consider it a mlecha temple unless you do this. South India, they're very caste conscious out there, even at that time and even today. So Prabhupada consented, and they had very nice ceremonies, very beautiful arrangement. And Prabhupada requested them at one point, let them chant various hymns from the various Vedas. So they located some expert to chant the Samaveda. Samaveda is very melodious and very, very complex to learn. So they got some local Brahmanas to chant some hymns of the Samaveda, and these local Ramanujas chanted from the Yajurveda, from the Taittiriya Upanishad. It was very, very nice. The ceremonies were concluded very nicely. And Prabhupada made a comment at one point, it's very good to see that there are still some bona fide Vedic Brahmins in South India. He was very happy with them. There are even pictures that they took with Srila Prabhupada and these various Vaishnava devotees. So this is important. So the question sometimes comes up, why is it in the Bhagavad-gītā, in some other verse, that only 3 of the Vedas are mentioned? Well, all the Vedas are either indirectly mentioned or mentioned in the Bhagavad-gītā. We see in the 15th chapter how Lord Krishna describes Vedascha sarvaraham evidyaha, that I am the person who's to be known by the study of the Vedas. This is very important because sometimes people misunderstand the difference between the Upanishads, the Vedic hymns, and the various itihasas, Puranas, Samhitas. In the Vedas, it is described, the Vedas are called Aparushaya. Aparushaya is not spoken by any human beings. The Vedas, in every creation, the 4 Vedas come from the breeding of the personality of Godhead. This is mentioned in the Brihad Aranakya Upanishad, in the Madhyandina Shruti. Prabhupada quotes that several times. This is also quoted by Jiva Goswami in his various Sandarbhas. So the Mayavadis sometimes will argue that the Vedas, the Shrutis, occupy a superior position in any discussion or debate. But in the Vedas itself, it is mentioned that the Puranas, the Itihasas, just as the Ramayana, Mahabharata, All the 18 Puranas, the Samhitas, they all come from the breathing of Krishna. They're all they're called the Panchama Veda, the fifth Veda. So we do not differentiate between the Shruti and the Smriti. It is all transcendental, coming from Krishna. And the goal of all these literatures is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vede Ramayane Cheva Purane Bharati Tata Ado Anta Chamadyecha Harihi Sarvatargiyate. That all of these literature, the Vedas, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, from the beginning, the middle, and the end, what is the idea? What is the goal? The worship of Lord Hari. This is also quoted by Anantatirtha Madhvacharya in some of his purports. So it's important to understand when it mentions different things in Prabhupada's books about the Vedas, it refers to all the Vedas. Not that Krishna is differentiating between one Veda being superior to another. Because the Bhagavad-gītā is called Gita Upanishad, the essence of all the Vedas. And here also we see that Lord Krishna is mentioning, of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and the Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. And of the Vasus, I am the fire, Agni. And of the mountains, I am Meru. There are so many powerful demigods and representative in the higher planets. They're all representative of Krishna. And the foremost of these are mentioned by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad-gītā. Recently, a devotee asked me, he says, I have heard that Lord Chaitanya, there is no samadhi or no specific departure monument for Lord Chaitanya. Why is that? Well, according to our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, Lord Chaitanya, at the end of his 48th year, he was in Jagannath Puri and emerged within the deity of Toto Gopinath near the departure place of Haridas Thakur. Very special. The pujaris, of course, on the gift of a few rupees donation, will often show, they will lift the cloth and they show a silver streak in the thigh of Lord Radha Gopinath, and they say that this is the place where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed. Another very important event that occurred in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya was in 1575. Lord Chaitanya departed in 1536 or so. So 1575, that would be approximately 28 or 30 years. There was a big meeting in what is now Bangladesh, where Narottam Das Thakur convened a very big meeting of all the different Vaishnava followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the different groups, the followers of Advaita-charya, the followers of Nityananda, everybody was invited. And Janava Mataji, the wife of Lord Nityananda, came there, and she assembled all the Vaishnavas, and there was many discussions on all the various philosophical differences of these various followers of Lord Chaitanya. And at one point during one of the ceremonies, because they installed various deities, various Gaudiya Vaishnava deities on the altars at that time, it is described in the Bhakti Ratnakar that the Panchatattva deity, Panchatattva themselves, who already had departed from this world by that time, that they all came dancing in front of everybody. Everybody could actually see and perceive that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Srivas, Gadadhar, that they were actually dancing in front of everybody, although they already had departed from their manifested pastime at that time. So there are many transcendental events and occurrences that happen that are sometimes beyond the understanding of our mundane vision. We know in 1966, there is a story that devotees had arranged for a nice hall for Prabhupada to do a presentation. And unfortunately, not too many, although the devotees had made some advertisement, not too many people showed up. So after the kirtan, devotees went to Prabhupada, and some of them felt sad that not too many guests had come. And Srila Prabhupada says, no, 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 you did not see. So many demigods came there. Narada Muni, Devarishi Muni, so many great personalities were there during Kirtan. So devotees were basically fascinated to hear Srila Prabhupada with this description. Because, of course, Srila Prabhupada, being a topmost devotee, a pure devotee, a personal associate of Lord Chaitanya, could obviously perceive things that we could not. So this is another example of a very special divine manifestation mentioned by Srila Prabhupada. Just the other day, I was reading in some of my files, there was a devotee of, he's a member of the Madhva Sampradaya. His name was Raghavendra Swami. His name is mentioned in one purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was a very famous preacher. He was born in 1595 and he lived for almost 120 years. And he was a very powerful preacher and commentator on the various writings of Madhvacharya and his prominent followers. He was a very forceful debater who fought against the Mayavadis. And when it came time for this person to depart from his body, he told his follower, you make a samadhi. In South India, they call it a Brindavana, basically a place where they put the body. You make a samadhi and I will enter this samadhi. And you bring 700 shaligrams. And he described how he was going to live in that samadhi for 700 years. And he entered his samadhi while still alive. So this is quite an amazing event that took place. Also in their sampradaya, they have a few other devotees who entered their samadhis or departed their bodies while they were alive. They entered their tomb while still living, and still today they are being worshipped. Very special event. In the case of this Raghavendra Swami, there's a very interesting story. When the British were managing South India, in that particular area of Andhra Pradesh, incidentally, that samadhi of this great saint was very close to a stone near the Tungabhadra River, where Lord Ramachandra touched the stone and rested for some time when he visited there with Lakshman and all of his associates. So coming back to this British, I don't know if he was a collector, like a tax collector. His name was Sir Thomas Munro. And what happened with him is, like, about 120 years after this great saint, Raghavendra Swami, departed, he was making some inquiries about the lands that were owned by the monastery of this Mat, of this temple, where this samadhi, this tomb of this great saint was. So he went there and everybody kept telling him, the only person who can really give you an answer is Raghavendra Swami. And they say the local people say he's still there in his samadhi. So this Colonel Munro went there, took his boots off, and basically went there, and he had basically, it's been written in the writings, the Gazette, the Madras Gazette, which is a record, the official records of the British government at that time, how he had a special darshan, a special meeting with this Raghavendra Swami, and was blessed by him. And then eventually he basically, decided that the Mat should be exempt from any taxes or something. But it was actually recorded in the official records of the British government for the Madras division at that time. Very, very interesting. And in 2018, I saw a photo how different British women, all with saris, went to visit the tomb of that great saint Raghavendra Swami to pay their respects, where one of their ancestors, Sir Thomas Munro, had come there and got the blessings of this great saint. So it is quite amazing. Here we go. Here's the picture. All these ladies, they're all descendant of this Thomas Munro, and they're in this place in Mantralaya. Mantralaya is in the state of Andhra Pradesh, near the Tungabhadra River, and they're getting some blessings from this place where one of their ancestors, Sir Thomas Munro, got the special blessings. This is Thomas Monroe on the right. This is Raghavendra Swami on the left. Very, very special. That's why even in South India, in a lot of places, you see big pictures of this Raghavendra Swami. When we first went to South India in 1972, Guru Kripa Swami and myself, we went and we were walking to make life members. At one point, we saw all these different people coming out. They have this, it's like very similar to our tilak, and they put a little black sacred markings in the middle. And there was an idli shop. They were making idlis and vadas and doshas, and we're looking, they have this big, huge painting of this Raghavendra Swami. So we asked one of the people that were helping, well, who is that person there? He looks like he's got Vaishnav tilak. And they said, oh, no, this is Raghavendra Swami. They told us the story, how he's still giving his blessings to devotees for 700 years. I said, wow, very interesting. But one of the main features of this person, he was a fearless debater and fighter against the Mayavadis. Very, very interesting story. Very interesting. So we'll leave it at that for now. There's a lot more similar stories like this. Very interesting, especially the story of the Panchatattva dancing in front of all the devotees at the Keturi festival arranged by Narottam Das Thakur and presided by Janava Mataji, the consort of Lord Nityananda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful, detailed explanation of many facets of our philosophy, and how much information there really is in the Vedic teachings, and especially the books presented by Srila Prabhupada. In Catholicism, I was raised as a Roman Catholic. So it's the beginning stages of a spiritual path in some respects, that you learn that God exists. He's omnipresent and omniscient. But at the same time, there is very little information about the features of the Supreme Lord. And fortunately, in the Bhagavad-gītā, we have detailed information, which is considered to be the secondary level of education in Krishna consciousness. And then moving forward, as we continue the study of the Shastra under Prabhupada's direction, we can enter into the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, which Prabhupada began translating before his arrival in America. And there are 18,000 verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, so much information. The Bhagavad-gītā, over 700 verses. And then subsequently, the postgraduate study, the graduate study is the Srimad Bhagavatam. The postgraduate study is the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is over 11,000 verses. So there's so much information that's available for us to convince us that God exists. Because in the Kali Yuga, people are very slow to spiritual life. They're filled with so much confusion. It's called chaos, the iron age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And quarrel and hypocrisy is all pervasive, unfortunately. And so by the study of these scriptures under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, a person can rise up out of the animal kingdom. That's basically what we have, is an animalistic society. And if you see the news every day, you're fully aware of the situation that's going on in the material world at these present times. And there's so much difficulty, so much quarrel, so much hypocrisy, war, disease, fake fake news, fake everything. So we're blessed to have this opportunity to get transcendental information from the lips of the pure devotee. And in this chapter, especially the opulence of the absolute, there's so many different details given by Krishna himself to us on how great God is. Because in these other groups, they have very little knowledge of who God is. This Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, not of transcendental knowledge. And we are very blessed to be able to learn the absolute truth from the bona fide representative of Krishna, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Yaśodā, if you could further elaborate.
Now, this is a very important point because we see that the knowledge given in Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam is very detailed. Just like we were quoting from Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 7, text number 5, and Srila Prabhupada's explanation of the three Vishnus, Mahavishnu, Karodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, and their various functions. We see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, trying to get a picture here, I don't have it, can't reach there. The Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto, when Prabhupada was in India, he had a beautiful cover showing Goloka Vrindavan, all the Vaikuntha planets, the Mahavishnu, the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, very, very clear depiction and description of the material world and the spiritual world. Now, because this is important, we see in the Purusha Sukta, in the various Vedas, there's each Veda as a Purusha Sukta, which is the description of how the material world comes about and the importance of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedaham etam Purushan Mahantam, Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastad, is described that one who understands the position, the exalted position of the self-effulgent Supreme Personality of Godhead, no longer has to come back in this material world. Same principle as we have in the Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 4, text number 9. And this is the great transcendental mercy of Srila Prabhupada to present these literatures, which are originally written in very complex Sanskrit and Bengali language, to present it in simple to understand English language so that anybody can understand. Any person in any part of the world can get the association of Lord Krishna and basically understand Srila Prabhupada. It was an interesting conversation I saw yesterday. Let me get the reference here so we can display it on the screen. Just 1 second, if I can find the quote here. This is from a lecture on Chaitanya Charitamrita on the 27th of April, 1976. 27th of April, 1976, regarding Madhya Lila 2098. Srila Prabhupada explains, Srila Prabhupada, no, first of all, answer this. Suppose there's a big meeting going on and some big man is present. Suppose the president is there. Can you talk with him? Why? Why you cannot talk? For talking, we think you require some qualification. It is not that he's so cheap that you talk with Krishna immediately. Ata Sri Krishna namadhina bhaved grami indriyahi sevan mukhe jivado swayameva spuratyadaha. So if you accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, then you have to qualify yourself to talk with him. Yes, by his grace, Krishna will show himself to you. Prabhupada, yes, if you read Krishna book and if you believe, then you see Krishna. He is not different from the book. So this is quite important. Quite important. This is very, very essential for devotees to understand this, because we see a lot of propaganda about the necessity for a so-called physically present living guru. But Prabhupada is still present in the pages of his book, in his explanation of Lord Krishna, in his explanation of everything he has given in Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a very important point for devotees to understand and realize. Hare Krishna.
Misunderstanding amongst many aspiring students of the process of Krishna consciousness, where they believe that Vapu is more important than Vani, even though this is a transcendental science based on sound. Shravanam Kirtanam. And this particular type of difficulty is causing many people to become very confused about their spiritual direction. And so this goal of our discussions and readings is to establish what the truth is, irrespective of so many opinions. It's like sometimes people have an opinion, like people have a body odor. Everybody has an opinion, but the bona fide disciples do not have an opinion of anything. They simply repeat what they've heard from their spiritual master. And in this way, they remain connected to his lotus feet. So much concoction, mental speculation. And in this way, the path of devotional service becomes obscured by so many different deviant followers. Jonas Priya in Hawaii, maybe you could share a few words this morning to our group
Hare Krishna,
on these
aloha.
subject matters. Haribol.
Hari Hari Bol, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, present my obeisances. Yeah, we're so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada so kindly translated so many books. And this is our greatest treasure, as we were saying, because we don't need to be very smart or very learned. We simply have to be sincere and enthusiastic and study Prabhupada's books. Not only read Prabhupada's books, but study Prabhupada's books. Many stories of Sankirtan devotees returning from Sankirtan, and Prabhupada usually will see him if he was on that temple. And so he said, "So do you distribute a lot of books?" And they go, "Yes." And said, "Do you read my books?" And this particular case of the devotee said, "Well, Srila Prabhupada, we're so busy distributing his books, so we don't have time for reading." And Prabhupada wasn't very happy at all. He was quite upset. He said, "I wrote these books for you, for my devotees, and then the distribution, that's great. But I wrote these books for you, for us. So it is our duty not only to read these books, but to study these books like we're doing here." And by the mercy of Prabhupada and Krishna, we have a group of people that they're explaining the books as they are. Nobody here is speculating on any knowledge. Why? Because we know that, well, at least for myself, I know I'm a foolish person. I'm very dumb. I don't know anything. But if I simply repeat what I digested from my spiritual master, then that will be very, very beneficial for myself and for anybody that I become in contact with. So Prabhupada said, "You might all be rascals, you might all be fools, but my books are not. So if you simply repeat what I say in my books, then your preaching will be very successful." Hare Krishna.
Well, the thing is this, learning. How do you learn? You have to listen. Now, for various reasons, some people don't want to listen. It could be out of false ego. It could be out of arrogance. It could be out of envy. Many different reasons why people don't listen. But if you listen carefully to Prabhupada's lectures, again, I refer to Dharma Bhavana's question of the other day, which I thought was very interesting and educational. Listening to Prabhupada's lectures is a wealth of information in every sentence, in every word. And trying to remember them and repeat them exactly the way that he has spoken them is a chance for us to be acting as Sishya gurus. Now, Prabhupada mentioned in this lecture that I was listening to that Lord Chaitanya had requested all of us to take up that role. Share this information with other people. Chant Hare Krishna. Learn the Bhagavad-gītā from a bona fide spiritual master. And in this way, your life will become perfect. This is an instruction. Prabhupada wanted us to share this knowledge with other people. Just simply repeat what you've heard. Lord Chaitanya said, by my order, you become guru. So Lord Chaitanya was encouraging everybody to take up this mission of giving information to other people about Krishna consciousness. Not Diksha Guru. That you're going to sit in the seat of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in the seat of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, and you set up a business where you become renowned as a great preacher based on material motivation. This process of guru is of big confusion for a lot of people. Guru means you share the knowledge with others. You teach them to the best of your ability as a devotee, not try to sit on the throne like we saw in that recent Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, this recent TV show that's being broadcast globally now, of the work that was done in New Vrindavan specifically, how this godbrother of ours tried to usurp the position of Prabhupada as guru and become guru, even though externally pretending to be guru, in the back room fraudulently acting and misleading people on so many different levels. This is unfortunate, very unfortunate. And everybody should be wary of such pseudo hypocrites. Be wary of them. Don't associate with these people, because they will contaminate you, because they're misleading people on what is actually a bona fide disciple. Bona fide simply repeats what he hears from his guru. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Maybe you could share some information on today's talk with us.
Oh, anyway.
Microphone, please. Thank you.
Am I okay now?
Yes, thank you.
Can you hear? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
very good.
Did a beautiful class today. I was in very wonderful to hear about Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami. I perhaps had heard the name but didn't know anything. It's a whole how anybody could live that long and do all these great things. But we have locally many families that have been coming for a year and a half, or 2 years, associated with Prabhupada's mission. And maybe 3 or 4 of the families come to our reading and discussions on a semi-regular basis. And I thought we'd just make up a little test, spontaneous in my mind. I said, let's just make up a test and see if we could give it to the local devotees and see what happens, see how they can. So I thought I'd read some of the questions. Is that okay?
Go ahead, please. We're interested.
Number 1, name a chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. Just tell the name. Number 2, Lord Ram built a bridge across the ocean of Sri Lanka. This is 2 million years ago. Is this true or false? Is it real or mythology? Number 3, Prabhupada was so great, but he did not have mystic powers like great yogis. True or false? Dhritarashtra was blind and he knew of the events of the battle at Kurukshetra. How is this possible? Number 5, Arjuna is a perfect devotee. How could he cry, refuse to fight, and break down before the battle? Number 7, describe Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the meaning? What is bona fide spiritual master? Why did Krishna act as a chariot driver if he is the supreme person? What is the meaning of Vaishnava Aparad? What is Guru Aparad? Give a few examples of Prabhupada's mission. Do you feel you're a part of Prabhupada's mission, and why? So it's kind of a true or false questions, and some require some elaboration. What benefit have you received from coming to the school, the Sunday feast, and other lectures, or the reading and discussion? There are 700 different translations of Bhagavad-gītā. Why is As It Is important? Why is it different? What is the conclusion of Bhagavad-gītā? See chapter 18. What is the result? Describe what happens when one achieves the goal of Krishna consciousness. What is spiritual world? Describe. What is difference between living body and dead body? What is super soul? What is Panchatattva? How does one make advancement in Krishna consciousness? And here's a long one, directly out of Bhagavad-gītā. According to rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is need to offer periodical food and water to forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu, because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of reactions, and sometimes they cannot get a gross body and are ghosts. This is family tradition. One engaged in devotional life, the Vaishnava devotee, is not required to do these things. Is this true or false? This right there in Bhagavad-gītā purport. So thank you. That's all. I just had to read this. What my ideas came out as to this test.
Excellent. You know, it's interesting to note that our goal is Namhata program for spreading Krishna consciousness. In other words, these classes are part of our motivational time to prepare and plan ways and means of bringing Krishna consciousness to other people in our local areas. Because if you share Krishna consciousness with others, you get the greatest blessing. From Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, by carrying out their mission. So Dharma Bhavana, your questions and tests like that are all reflection of your attitude to try to share this knowledge with other people in your local area. And so for all of us as individuals, chanting our rounds is critical to our spiritual development. Studying the books collectively for 4.5 hours a week. It's not a lot of time, but some time. But there's a lot more time, 168 hours a week, for us to spend studying the books, listening to lectures, and trying to stay fixed up in the transcendental sound that coming from the pure devotee. So like this, we make progress, we become inspired, we continue to explain it to others. And in this way, step by step, we make advancement in Krishna consciousness through the preaching work of this Namhata program that we're developing. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. I see that Nilesh left us. Could you maybe give some more explanation here?
Nilesh left us. Okay. I
He
know
had a
he's
question.
there. Yeah. Okay.
I see he left. Some people come and go.
Well, the issues, the questions that were raised by Dharma Bhavana are very important. I mean, these are very fundamental questions of our Krishna conscious philosophy. And unfortunately, what we find many times with many devotees and some of our Indian friends and sympathizers is that they will come and offer some puja, offer some donation and participate. When it comes to understanding the philosophy properly, they do not seem to understand. And the foremost of these misunderstandings is this false idea that all the gods are the same. Yeah. That Krishna, Ganesh, Shiva, Kali, Surya, they're all the same, that worship any one of them would lead you to the same conclusion. This is basically impersonalism or Mayavad. And Prabhupada preached against that. Bhagavad-gītā does not support those conclusions. We see in chapter 7 of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna described, Yanti madhyajinopi mam, that those who worship me will come to me, but those who worship different demigods will go to the demigods. It is not true that simply worshiping any demigod will lead you to Krishna. That is not correct. That is a falsehood that is not supported by Bhagavad-gītā or any of our bona fide Vaishnava-acharyas. Now, this is very important to understand, because as you practically interact with many of these persons in the Indian community, this will come up. And many of them are very attached to these ideas, especially South Indians, all Indians, but especially South Indians. So it's important to understand Prabhupada's teachings, Prabhupada's presentation, and some way or other get these people to chant, take prasadam, have kirtan, and gradually educate them into the proper understanding of the philosophy. That is very important. Hare Krishna.
Exactly. And let's put it this way, Prabhus. The whole world is in a state of chaos on many, many different levels, and especially on the path of spiritual life. And it is a great opportunity for us to be able to take up this process, even though there's only a few of us. But at the same time, we're blessed with the right understanding of the relationship between Krishna, Guru, and the bona fide disciples. I see that Nilesh Dalal is back online with us, and he has his hand up. Prabhu,
Hare
comment
Krishna.
or question?
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Yes, Prabhuji. It was a very interesting story which Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu talked about Raghavendra Swami,
Yes.
which kind of connects me to the living Guru philosophy, where if Raghavendra Swami, even after 700 years in Samadhi, he can bless people who come to him. And of course, people consider the opposite camp, people consider Prabhupada as an ordinary person because they think that he's gone, he's dead and gone, when actually he's still around giving us instructions in so many ways, through his books, through these discussions. And if Raghavendra Swami can do this, who is a pure devotee of the Lord, why not Srila Prabhupada? You know, it may not be in an absolute physical sense, like how he gave darshan to that English general and the English ladies, but there are so many ways that he still is instructing us. And the ordinary man cannot comprehend this particular situation, you know, that there are people who can live for 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years in this particular age, in this particular planet, but maybe in a different yuga, but ordinary people. But Vaishnavas can never die, and Vaishnavas can always give us those directions eternally. I wish what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has to say.
Well, this is a very important point. This is a fundamental point of our philosophy, that great acharyas and nitya siddhas, or eternally liberated souls who come from the spiritual world to teach conditioned souls, are not like regular, ordinary human beings that are subjected to the 4 defects of conditioned souls. These are powerful personalities, just like I was giving this example of the Panchatattva, who so many years after their disappearance manifested in the festival of Narottam Das Thakur and Janava Mataji in Keturi in East Bengal. How did they do that? There are so many instances like that. In other words, spiritual life or spiritual events are not conditioned by the material energy. We read in the Srimad Bhagavatam of different personalities that are living in higher planets, such as Brahmaloka, Satyaloka, the planets of Dhruvaloka, the pole stars, the Sapta Rishis, or the 7 great sages who are still living. And they used to come to this planet regularly to bless the planet with their presence many thousand years ago. Now, because of the influence of Kali Yuga, it becomes more and more difficult to perceive such personality. I've also explained, like in South India, the brother of Madhvacharya named Vishnu Tirtha, it's said to be still living, and he's going to live for another 30,000 years. And he has all of Madhvacharya's teachings on copper plates. And when Kali Yuga becomes so disturbed that the teachings are almost non-existent, he'll come back and revive them. This is according to writings in the Madhva Sampradaya. So there are so many instances and stories of great personalities who bless this planet with their mercy, with their kindness and their teachings. But the most important thing is what we have is we have the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, and how to practice spiritual life and how to conduct our spiritual activities. That is the blessing. So it's like Prabhupada was saying in that reading there that I was mentioning, that if you read Krishna book and if you believe, then you see Krishna. Krishna is not different from his book. Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different than Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad-gītā is non-different than Krishna. As simple as that. Hare Krishna.
Yes, simple for the simple, difficult for the crooked, as Prabhupada would say. So there are many different versions of philosophy that are everywhere in this world of illusion and confusion. So
Prabhuji, can I add something?
We're just finishing up. Go ahead, please.
Prabhuji, I was wondering, I don't know if it has happened to you or anybody else in this particular discussion group, is that whenever a question or a certain issue associated with Bhagavad-gītā or any of the books or spiritual life comes about in my life, I have always found that Prabhupada gives me the direction in the form of a discussion, in the form of introducing me to somebody or the other who satisfies me with that particular answer. So I think not only does the books, but just the way things lay out, just the way things come about in my life, through discussions, through associating with devotees,
Yes, your sound's going away, but let me respond by saying that I was listening to a lecture of Prabhupada the other day, and he was saying, Nilesh, that Krishna reveals everything to the devotee from within the heart. In other words, this is a dynamic process. So as you continue to chant each individual person, as you continue to preach, as you continue to distribute prasadam, as you continue to associate with bona fide disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, then this feast of spiritual experience enables you to gain your own realization of this philosophy. I, dwelling within the heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna, through your sincere service, will reveal himself to you as well. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for coming to these programs now. And I wanted to mention, as we finish up, that we have a new invitation card that will be ready next week. It's our hope for you to get a copy of and print out in your particular area. It's an invitation card that says that we have these free classes online that you can attend and learn from the Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in this way, we can increase our number of subscriptions online. Remember, we have the Hare Krishna Society website. Excuse me. And we also have the Prabhupada Disciples Association on Facebook and Instagram. So these are different mediums that we're using to proliferate this information to other people that are sincere, very sincere about taking up the path back home back to Godhead without any adulteration to the message. So the invitations will be out. They'll be available to each individual group in your Namhata region, and then you can get them printed. I'm planning to print a couple of thousand myself here in the Hamilton area and use them as an instrument for spreading the information to other people, like through our friend Bhakta Joe Felice. He has a real estate company, and he gives out these, he can give these invitations out to all of his clients and contacts. He has hundreds of contacts. He's always preaching. So we can continue to expand what we're doing in a very simple Namhata approach to education in Krishna consciousness. So thank you, everyone. Tomorrow is Srimad Bhagavatam class at 10 a.m. in the morning. So invite your friends and family to come along and listen if they have a chance. I know that some people, they just can't find the time for whatever reason. But this is their independent free will to choose what they want to do with their time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's go to the chanting of Hare Krishna and then on with the rest of our day of devotional service. Haribo.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Bol.